Our next session is a speaker session titled Where to Play, How to Win, Spotting Gaps in the FinTech Ecosystem. This session will highlight key strategies for identifying untapped opportunities in FinTech, leveraging technology to address inefficiency, and building scalable, customer-focused solutions for long-term success. It will also explore how fostering strategic partnerships can drive growth and expand reach. Delivering this session, we have with us Mr. Ganesh Rengaswamy, Managing Partner at Quona Capital, a leader in fintech investments and market strategies. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a huge round of applause as we welcome him on stage.
Wow, this is super bright. Good afternoon, rather good evening, everyone. Or it's probably I'm standing between dinner and you guys. So we'll keep this brief. But I think what I'll do is start with a short presentation, but really have we'll do it in a Q&A mode after that, where Samir has kindly agreed to join me with his questions. As I was thinking about this session, I think thinking about the vintage of fintech and financial innovation in our country, it's probably now in some form or the other about 15 plus years old. And while we have created some very interesting outcomes, I think we probably are yet to see remarkable outcomes which would have the same kind of respect and standing in the global ecosystem as some of the largest global players, or let's say the top 25 fintechs known in the world. And given the macro of India and how things are changing, I think we can very much achieve that. Having said that, actually, sorry, I want to know how to move this presentation forward. Otherwise, I'll keep just talking to this slide. Perfect. Okay. So very quickly, Quona, and before we start, I hope that at the end of this session, the guys sitting in this room take away something, and the secret you guys are privy of that no one else who is not in the room is. So I hope some of you end up building great fintech companies, which we get a chance to back. But very quickly, Quona is one of the leading fintech VCs in Global South. We only invest in emerging markets, so across 15 countries. And probably India is one of our largest markets, followed by Brazil, Mexico, Southeast Asia, and South Africa. So I promise this is the only dense slide, hopefully. And I'm also discovering these slides as we go along, because in full disclosure, I didn't prepare these slides. So Global South as a term that is very commonly known now, not one of my favorite terms, but easily describes an emerging market, which is a set of emerging market countries led in some ways by India, which have powerfully growing middle class, digitally savvy population, rapid urbanization, of course, mobile penetration, and all of this leads to need for more sophisticated services, including, of course, financial services. And a fundamental point that cuts across these markets from a financial services point of view is that financial service is one of those foundational solutions which cuts across the economy, and it has use cases that helps drive socio-economic development across the board. It's not just about financial services, and Praveena spoke about commodities and the difference that an innovative financial solution can make in creating a more efficient value chain. Could be tremendous from a transaction, fulfillment, payment, credit, so on and so forth perspective. So it can impact a number of sectors and solutions in pretty dynamic ways. In terms of the outlook for Global South, of course, I'm biased. I stand here because we believe these are markets which are seeing the maximum growth, again, led by, India is an example in several ways for this. And there are some fundamentally catalytic factors which we are seeing emerge a lot more than what we have seen in the previous decade. I guess digital public infrastructure has been one of the, obviously one of the defining features, and we'll talk more about that as we go along. And also, number of newer technologies which are coming up have seen a natural home in some of these markets because of the lack of incumbent, deeply embedded incumbent solutions, which are sometimes hard to change. In terms of what are the challenges we are seeing in these markets, a lot of these are probably familiar. Clearly, as digitization evolves, in fact, as I was walking up here, I got an email from one of the companies I'm on the board of about a random email that had come in the morning. Thankfully, I hadn't opened, but the founder sent an email saying, "Don't open it, phishing attack." I had to change whole host of things, and anybody who opened, by the way, please go ahead and change your host of passwords across all your mobile apps. So it's not just on email, this is across now all the apps. So cybersecurity is more and more becoming a concern, and we have a portfolio company called Bureau which addresses that, by the way, but I don't want to get into that right now. Maybe moving on. I think the next set of slides really talks about why it's powerful. These are all things folks in this room understand well. So I'll probably keep moving forward. Obviously, rapidly going middle class, the pace at which it's growing is really mind-boggling in terms of the fact that it's pretty much going to double in the next, probably in the next 10 years. Again, we all understand this. I think the evolution of this has been remarkable. I think a lot of folks know about it, probably are aware, are experiencing it, are building solutions towards this. I think the first generation of DPI was very confusing, to be honest. It was super confusing. I mean, at Quona and personally, I've been fortunate to work with folks who helped build some of the foundation of Aadhaar, eKYC, UPI, OCIN. But for laymen or for entrepreneurs or for large institutions which need to embrace this, for it to kind of be democratized across the country, it was very confusing. I think that has started changing, thankfully, in the last 3-4 years. Some of this, of course, has settled down. A lot of things on the left-hand side, or sorry, your right-hand side, your left-hand side, have actually settled down. And we're starting to see more stability and predictability across the solutions. On the right-hand side, I think it's still early. A number of these things are still early. And the interesting part is, again, due to lack of incumbency, we are starting to see solutions being built on top of this a lot more organically than what we see, frankly, in a number of more developed markets. And as people would be aware of in the room, number of these solutions are now starting to get picked up and replicated in some of the developed economies as well as potential infrastructural components as a part of building the overall infrastructure value chain. So, Samir, how are we doing on time? I don't want to keep talking all the time, so I'll probably pause. Okay, so then I will maybe just stop at this slide. In terms of opportunities that we are seeing across the ecosystem, I think, like I said, the combination of digital savviness, developing digital public and developing digital public infrastructure really is what is providing a unique opportunity for us to come up with newer solutions, building from scratch. Right? And there are several examples of this, including if you look across infrastructure, of course, domestically, payments is something now that's been made over efficient in the Indian ecosystem. I mean, 10 years back, number of things we have today were frankly not unimaginable. Having said that, even within payments, I think cross-border is fairly broken, even today. And that's largely because we have fundamentally focused more on domestic solutions. But if we take cross-border, the foundational financial infrastructure frameworks being built really help you deliver overall cross-border trade, factoring, invoicing, payment, B2B, B2C payments, so on and so forth, solutions from scratch. Another flavor of the same thing is we are starting to see tokenization pick up a lot more, which really is becoming a foundational solution for building a number of virtual solutions on top of it. I think for some of the folks who have probably seen the work that Nandan and team have started doing on FinTech, would realize that it can potentially have global and far-reaching impact. Especially as the fundamental idea is you start tokenizing by almost any asset, whether it's a commodity, whether it's a financial asset, whether it's a contract, so on and so forth. And that becomes the foundation layer. And all tech is built on top of that. Another oft-spoken idea, which is probably going to change the way we build solutions, of course, is AI. But to be very honest, I think AI is in super early stages. I think, at least from our vantage point, a lot of what we hear today is noise, which is probably going to settle down over a period of time. There are fundamentally three kinds of solutions which can be built on AI. One is efficiency, two is customer experience, and three is if you can fundamentally re-architect an entire solution and not just components. We personally don't think in our markets we are anywhere close to number 3. And we are most likely somewhere in the number 1 zone. We are largely trying to create efficiency for a single function or singular functions out of AI. I think the last piece I'll touch upon is solutions that we are seeing at the convergence of sustainability and climate. And this has been a real, I think, revelation for us in the last couple of years. For a long period of time, fundamental solutions around sustainability and climate were still being built. But we are starting to see a lot more convergence between financial innovation and renewables, innovative energy solutions, and climate-related solutions in the last couple of years. Again, early days, but it's a space that we are watching and actually starting to do a lot more work in more recent times. Actually, I'll pause here in the interest of time. Maybe better to take questions.
So I think my question would be largely on the fintech infra side, which is where I think all of a sudden the action has started in the last 3-4 years. What will be the level of, I mean, would you want to specify more areas in which the infra can be built? Of course, we have some few very winning large entities who have already done it, be it Perfios or M2B, but from your perspective, what are the areas where they can get in, and what is the business model they can give, how scalable they can be?
Sure. I think first of all, yeah, it's better. So first of all, I think infra in itself, in India especially, has several infra components have been normalized. Huh. And frankly, that on one side, you can look at it as a disappointment for a lot of entrepreneurs who are trying to build for the foundation level. Having said that, I think as the infra matures, what you realize is effectively to deliver financial solutions, you have to build experience on top of the infra. So you can either build experiential solutions, which frankly could be cross-border trade solutions, could be domestic value chain solutions, could be actually commodity value chain solutions, so on and so forth. But largely, I think you have to build value-added services on top of the infra. It is essentially not the infra itself, in most cases, or at least not the singular infra. Like if you take account aggregator, if you take ONDC, if you take UPI, if you take eKYC, eSign, these are all individual modules. I think definitely the days of trying to build a successful infra company on top of individual use cases is gone. It really has to be an integrated or embedded or a larger experiential solution. That's one. Second is if you build infra, you really have to build infra, combining various infra components to solve solutions. For example, solving cross-border requires multiple regulations, multiple infra layers in terms of KYC, compliance, cross-border, across geographies, in which case you can stitch together more complex solution and build an end outcome. But just the days of, let's say, building just security solutions and building a password or biometric or so on and so forth, those days are gone, in our view.
Maybe if there is any question here, I can take that. Okay, so maybe not. Maybe from a market perspective, since you work across other ecosystem as well, any idea which is existing outside? So I remember in 16, 17, we were looking at X of Y, right? Everybody has X of Y. But of maybe last 3 years, we haven't seen anything X of Y at all in India. So is there any area where you think we can sort of pick from success from other markets and replicate in India, in our own context?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, now having been an entrepreneur and investor for almost 2 decades, I've come full circle on this. I frankly don't think X of Y, there's anything wrong with X of Y. The problem is we over-index on X of Y. And the reason today I feel confident that it's not a problem is because our foundational elements have changed. Our ecosystem is changed, the market has changed. So even if you build X of Y, you'll have to build it differently. Because the foundational layers are all very different in today's world. So you will have to, if you look at this, you'll have to build to this, right, which is very different. So conceptually, you might look at it, you might say that, like I was just talking to somebody literally before I walked in. We have 6 cross-border solution companies in our LATAM portfolio, 4 of which are market leaders. We don't have a single one in India, which is shocking. Because fundamentally, the way the world is changing, the macro of the world is changing, we know that India has more potential on that front. So building similar solutions here, X of Y is completely fine. I think we'll have to build fundamentally very differently, given the stack, which is why it's still going to be unique to the market. So the experience is going to be unique to the market, and without that, we won't succeed. Right? I think just trying to pick the headline level theme or use case and delivering to it, that opportunity is gone because we have to build very specific to the market. And hence, it's fine. If you find inspiration from somewhere, please do it. Right? The challenge is in building.
I know I'm inserting one last question. What is the kind of profile of FinTech founders do you find now? Maybe just quick 1 minute on that.
Oh, it's a tough one. I think, I would say in general, I'm trying to figure out how to be as positive about it as one can. I think we need founders who, in general, the ecosystem, not just what we need. What we are looking for today is we need founders who are thinking beyond the fractional opportunity. And it's very hard to explain this because most founders will say, yeah, I'm motivated and excited to do something because I've come across an extraordinary idea which has gotten me all excited. But the reality is, most folks have not gone into the depth to understand the L-1, L-2, L-3 of an opportunity, and you start, but once you start implementing, the use case becomes lot narrower. And then you realize that for the capital you have raised and the promise or positioning you have built, you are not really being able to deliver to that. And this expectation to reality mismatch actually ends up hitting all of us for years, where you're not building to the opportunity, you're building to an expectation you have built. So really, the ability to understand what you're solving for a lot more deeply, I think is needed when folks start. You might not have the answers, but you need to understand the vintage and history and challenges and successes and what has worked and what hasn't. And secondly, ability to build a team. Ability to build a fantastic team, I think has been a fundamental challenge for a lot of our companies in our ecosystem. So in the interest of time, I'll stop with those two. Thank you. Wow. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We would like to present you with a token of our appreciation. Thank you so much for your time. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it once again for Ganesh Rengaswamy.